everyone and welcome back to my channel. I thought today I'd do a quick update on what we've been up to since we left Montreal. My last video was on Montreal and that was probably coming up to about a month ago now that we were actually there. So since then we've made our way down to North Carolina where I am now, and I'm sitting in a very glamorous car park while we do some washing in the laundrette behind me. When we left Montreal we went back to Toronto where we did some house sitting and we started the hunt for a van. We found a van. It wasn't exactly what I thought we were going to go for. I thought we were going to go for something that was a bit bigger and something that was converted already, but at the time we were looking we couldn't really find anything like that. And the ones we did see were either massive or they were like cargo vans that are used by builders and stuff to transport all their tools, and they needed converting. So after looking around a few, we settled on one, which is the van I'm now sat in. It was a cargo van. It's a 2008 Ford E150. So usually it would have a load of builders tools in the back, and as you can see from the photos right now, it looks very different to where I'm sat right now. It had a load of metal shelving in, it had no insulation, nothing, so we had to completely do it ourselves. So we insulated it all, put some plywood on the ceilings and on the walls. We built a bed, built somewhere to put our cooker, and we have a sink, and it's not quite usable yet. It's good for storing stuff right now, but we haven't actually used it yet. And there's still a lot of things that we need to finish off, but we've been living in it now for about the past 2 weeks and it's been good. Once we had our van sorted, we headed down from Toronto to Niagara Falls, and this is where we crossed into the US border. So we thought we'd have a lot of difficulty getting into the US border as we don't have any proof that we're going to go back to the UK or Canada as such, since we're just driving across the border. Thought we'd get interrogated a lot more than we did, but it was actually super easy. We got in and out and over to the US in under 20 minutes, which was much better than we thought. From the American side of Niagara Falls, we then went down to Buffalo. It's the first full day of our US road trip. We crossed the border at Niagara Falls yesterday and now we're in Buffalo. So it's quite a small city from what we've seen so far. We're just going to be here for about an hour or so, just to have a look at a few places that my road trip book has suggested we have a look at. So one of them was a district called Allentown that had some really cool looking restaurants in, and then the other was the harbour front. There wasn't really much to see at the harbour front, and the canal kind of smelt a little bit funny. So we moved on from there pretty quick. Right now we're walking through Delaware Park where we saw some actual buffalo in Buffalo. There's a zoo here and they've kind of got an enclosure open where you can see into the buffaloes, which was pretty cool. And we're gonna go grab some lunch at a place which is apparently where the buffalo wings were first invented. So we're gonna go try that out for lunch before we head on down to New York City. And that evening it started snowing a lot on the road, so we kind of just pulled over at a stop off the main highway and slept there. From there where we slept, the next day we headed it down to New York City. We had a quick stop off in Paterson actually. I don't know if you've seen the film Paterson about the guy who writes poems and drives a bus around Paterson, but we saw that not so long ago, so we thought, seeing as it was kind of on our way to New York City, we'd stop in Paterson, have a look at the waterfall and continue on our way. Coming into New York. In New York City we went to Times Square. We went to the top of the Rockefeller Center, we explored Central Park.
If you hold tight, I will make it alright. I know it's tough, but nothing's stronger than...
Everyone was kind of freaking out in New York because it was just before Storm Stella came to the city, so they were expecting it to be like another massive blizzard like there was last year. The night before it was due to hit, we decided to leave New York and go further south. We then decided we'd go over to the coast and make our way down the Atlantic coast until we get to Florida. We got to Philadelphia and then from there we went east towards the Atlantic Ocean. We stopped in a few places along the way that were all super sleepy, no one really around. If I thought Constantin, where my parents live, if I thought that was quiet in the winter, then I was wrong, because these places are even quieter. There was pretty much nothing open apart from like McDonald's and Starbucks. We stocked up on things like propane for our heater, some food and water, just in case the storm turned out to be really bad. But thankfully where we were, it was just really windy and rainy. I think the winds were up to like 40 miles an hour plus, so it was pretty windy. And when you sleep inside the van when it's that windy, it kind of rocks you to sleep. Well, I say rocks you to sleep, but actually it kind of scares me more than makes me sleep. The beaches were really nice though on our way down, and we're both really glad that it's finally starting to get a little bit warmer. And where we are right now, it is raining, but I think it's in double digits today, which is a first, let me tell you. On the day that the storm hit, we actually decided to get a ferry from New Jersey over to Delaware. Apparently the ferry carries on running until the winds are a steady 55 miles an hour, so we had about 10 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour to play with before they'd closed it down. The fact that it was so windy obviously didn't make for the most enjoyable crossing. We couldn't really see where the horizon was most of the time, and by the end of the hour and a half on that ferry we were both feeling pretty sick. So once we got off the ferry, we carried on heading south. We stayed the night just on a town slightly inland, and then the next day we carried on through Maryland into Virginia. So we were in Virginia a little bit longer, and we stopped off at the Chinoochee, I probably said that wrong, nature reserve, where there are loads of wild ponies. Then carried on down to a place called Eastville, and the book I use for our road trips, it suggested that we go try out this crab shack place. Definitely more of a restaurant than a shack. From there we took the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, which is this really cool bridge tunnel system that goes on for 18 miles, and it not only allows the cars to get from one bit of land to the other, but it means that the ships can sort of go through as well, and they're not stopped by the fact there's this bridge in the way. And you're really out in the middle of nowhere, like you can't see the land once you're in the middle of the bridge. But it was really cool. It's quite an impressive piece of architecture. And that kind of brings me up to now. So after Virginia we went into North Carolina, which is where we still are at the moment. We went to the Wright Brothers Memorial yesterday, just outside of a place called Kitty Hawk, and there will be a vlog coming on that day soon. So thanks very much for watching. If you've got any questions about our journey or about the van, then let me know down below, and don't forget to subscribe for plenty more videos of our travels across the US.